All right, I will call this meeting of the Facilities Committee to order today on July 25th. And we're here in room 54 in the Government Center. The first order of business is roll call. And we are missing Supervisor Score. Everybody else is present. And I move for approval of the minutes from the June 28th meeting.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion made by Supervisor Keeter, seconded by Supervisor Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good to go. Public comment. There is none. Items placed at the request of the chair. There is none for this evening. Staff reports and recreation reports. The fair board is not, Deb is not present because she's at the fair. So we'll move on to facilities and parks division.
Good evening, everyone. Got to get my right page up here so I can let you know what's going on. Let's see, I'll start out operation wise. I reported last month that we had a custodian that I made an offer to. Offer was accepted, but we rescinded the offer because of an issue on a background check. So I am back to recruiting. I'm working with HR to get going on that again to get a custodian. So in the meantime, I have contacted Express to get a temporary custodian in because it's been going on long enough here trying to have my current staff cover. I want to get somebody in that will be a full-time custodian at the Judicial Center to keep things cleaner, keep things in order. And that'll be probably, I'm going to say probably 3 to 4 weeks. That I'll have a Express temporary person, and then we'll have somebody to hire. We'll make an offer. I will, and after I do a few interviews, I'll have somebody to make an offer, and we'll get somebody in here. Hopefully the background checks go good, but we run into problems with background checks sometimes where stuff comes up, and it's just not, especially Judicial Center. It's not a place for everyone to work, especially if they have a bad background or you know, something on their background. So we rescinded that. So moving forward with recruiting. Greg, my facility technician, is out for a while. He ended up having had a scheduled surgery, so he's out for a while. So we're going to work facilities a little bit shorter. I think we can do that. We've got all the other guys. All the guys are able to switch around to different buildings and help out, so they work together as a good team. So hopefully Greg will have he had a good surgery, so hopefully he'll have a good recovery and get back soon and be in much better shape. Guys been working on the preparation for the fair. We took over the fairgrounds, would have been a week ago yesterday. Took over all the buildings and everything. And so preparation started last week. The fair board did a lot of stuff themselves with getting the gates in preparation for the fair, getting a lot of the benches, picnic tables, that stuff moved. So facility staff, it took a load off of the facility staff because normally facilities guys are the ones that are doing that during the week. Fair board members did it on a Saturday, so that really helped us out. Still a lot of preparation work for the fair. So they've been working down there yesterday, today. They'll be working the fair tomorrow through Sunday, of course. Split them up in shifts so that some are working day shift, some are working afternoon, evening shift for coverage for the fair if there's anything maintenance wise that we need to take care of. The usual thing. Update on the well, the pump house well. I did get a second opinion, which was a bit cheaper than what the last one was. The suggestion from this bid was to have our highway department go up there and demolish the pump house first. and then pull the well and pull the pump. Simply because right now you would have to excavate so much to get your pump pulling truck up above the well house, the pump house.
Mhm.
So the suggestion was made, demo it out of there, get that out of there, and then we could go ahead with pulling the pump to abandon it. That way we can do work in-house by demolition, and then save some money there on paying somebody else. So I think I'll work with highway and see if we can get that. I'll have to get a demolition permit from the city. They said they would waive the permit on that demolition. Then we can get that going and then, go forward with having the well pulled and abandoned.
So the casing has to be pulled too, or
The
just the well?
The casing does not have to be pulled.
Okay.
The pump and the drive going down, the piping going down to the well, or the actual pump in the well
Mhm.
has to be pulled. And then it has to be filled with bentonite.
Hmm.
So
Perfect.
How big a well is it? Is it a pretty good size?
it is an 8-inch casing and it's 200 feet deep.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
good size. It was the well that supplied water to the old Dunn County Healthcare Center or Dunn County Hospital that was here years ago, the building that sat behind this one.
Rather than run it to the city. Ancient history.
The guys got down to Caddy Woodlawn Park and installed a new steel roof on the log cabin that's down there and the outhouse that's down there. You remember the grant that we got from Menominee Sunrise Rotary? That was for materials for the roofs down there. So the guys got 2 of them done, before Greg went out on his surgery. Now we have left is the shelters that are down there. And the guys will get those this fall yet, get that taken care of. So the shelters or the buildings and the shelters will be in good shape down there, excluding the house. The house is still gonna need work on the roof. That's got a wood shake or wood shingled house, roof on it. That's still gonna need work and that is higher up and a good pitch. So I don't believe facilities will be doing that one. We don't have the proper equipment for getting up on the roof and doing that. So that one we'll have to look at getting some bids and
Are they gonna
contract.
put steel shake back on again? Or cedar shake?
No, what we're doing is putting steel on there. And then what we talked about with the Sunrise Rotary is taking some of those wood shakes and make a display for learning. So that
Okay.
people stop by, they can see that this is what the roofs used to be. And by us putting steel on there, they're gonna last that much longer.
Mhm.
Then won't be any maintenance to the roof for a long time.
Are you doing sheet steel or sheet steel shingles,
We're doing sheet steel,
exposed fasteners or?
exposed gas. Yep. Update on fleet vehicles, the 2 Chevy Malibus that we've been waiting for a year for are being delivered tomorrow.
Woo-hoo.
So we will be getting those in. I'll get those ready to go and put into service and then that hopefully will relieve some of the use of the fleet cars. Some people have really told us it's really hard to get a fleet car to take somewhere. So that should free up some pressure. So now, if you look at, we had with these 2 coming, we had that many vehicles. It'll be 8 Malibus that we have, the 2 vans and the big Ford van. Prior to COVID, we had that many fleet vehicles. And you think from 2020 until now, how much more Dunn County has expanded in services, especially human services. I have to monitor the fleet cars and see if we need to add any more and see where that's at.
So these new ones will be 22 or 23? Since we ordered them a year ago.
They will be 23s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so, yeah, like I said, those are coming tomorrow, so I'll take delivery and inspect those over.
When you say expanded, are you saying that the county's expanded personnel by that much?
I would say so. It seems like, Human Services has added a lot more. They're. Like we discussed about how much they've expanded and are looking for space. Outgrowing the building. I don't know for fact how many staff they have added. But Human Services is the department that uses the fleet vehicles the most. For things that they go for, whether it's grant programs or other things, home visits, stuff like that. They use them a lot.
And a lot of grant money's coming in too. Aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
and luckily we're able to, we have it set up so that we can charge our fuel back for the fleet vehicles. Fuel and mileage. So that, we get some money back for the wear and tear on the vehicles and maintenance. We're charging back to those grants.
Okay.
So we're recouping some money from those grants
Mhm.
to help pay for the fleet. I don't know how much it ends up working out to be, but we got our mileage sheet that the staff fill out once they use one of the county cars. That's got drop down boxes on there for grants. So they put on there if it's for a grant. If it's for a grant, they put down what the grant is for, and then Mercedes bills out to that grant, charges back for, I think the mileage is, 65 cents a mile for federal now, somewhere around there.
It's
So-
plus 50, yeah. It's up there someplace.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on. We worked with finance department on that to be able to charge back against those grants. So we can recoup some money there. You guys got a copy of the financial reports through June that was sent out? Anyone have any questions on those?
Anything on there that you want to talk about, or,
Nothing I did is pretty normal,
okay,
But if you guys look through it at any time and have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. We can talk about it. If there's anything on there you see that you want more detail on, I'll get you more detail on also. So that we have it. We talked a little bit about Abrina's report. You guys feel it would be beneficial to invite Abrina in to go over some of it or answer questions on it? She indicated she'd be more than willing to come to one of the meetings.
Yeah, I was just confused on one graph that shows that I wonder if she got them mixed up or something. Because at the government center, it shows a tremendous amount of natural gas and very little electricity. And I think it should have been switched.
I think I did see that also.
Yeah, and
I
I
was
was just
like
curious
this to
about that,
this.
yeah. And so I think maybe she got those two mixed up maybe or something.
Possibly, because the government center here hardly uses any natural gas.
Yeah, well, I know
Yeah.
you always mention that, yeah.
Yep. A lot more electricity than natural gas here
Yeah,
Because of the geothermal.
because of geothermal.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's say this.
So the only thing that runs off of gas here at the government center is the backup boiler.
Okay.
And that just is a keep warm. It keeps it warm to like 50 degrees. So it doesn't take a lot. Then you take into consideration that the buildings out back, the blacksmith shop and the old record storage building.
Mhm.
Those are part of the governments that are billing. They're on the bill, but they're separated out. So I don't know if she looked at got some of that in there too.
It'll be interesting to look at some of the solar projects that are, looking at to really see where they may save us in comparison to what information she gave us here at this particular point.
Yeah.
See what's our offset here, and that way we'll probably get a truer, cost because we don't get the tax incentives here.
Yeah.
On some of the stuff. So I think it might be an interesting connection between projected and reality more than
Sure.
anything else. So I'd like to see what she might be able to
Okay.
kind of make comparisons on.
I can reach out to her and see if she'd be available for our August meeting or our September meeting, whichever.
Yeah, I
And
think
then-
she could come on Zoom so she wouldn't have to drive,
Yeah,
because she's still in the cities. isn't
yep,
she?
she's in the
Yeah.
cities.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
and I don't know which one, yeah, it's up to her if she wants to come
Yeah.
Zoom or in person, but she offered, so I could reach out to her, see which one she wants to
Yeah.
come to, and if we know that she's coming, then we can have our questions
Yeah.
ready for her.
Will we have information from the bids on the solar projects, have a good idea of output and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we can have
Okay.
that information also.
All
for her.
right.
Can we get a little more of a breakdown on our a little better breakdown on our solar? So we can compare how much electricity we're using versus how much electricity we could be generating from the solar panels. I couldn't quite decipher, are we using this much electricity and we can get this much from our solar panels, or are we getting closer to 80 or 90% of our electrical use
Okay, I see.
taken care of
Yeah.
with the solar?
Yes, I can get that information.
And the other thing she mentioned in there that, in the resolution that we originally passed back a year or so ago, that, we do need to have a plan. And, would planning department do that for us, you know? We've got an awful lot of data now, and I would think they would be the people that might want to run something that come up with an energy plan for.
I would think they would be able to be involved in it.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Do we still have a planning department?
Yeah, there's a young woman that,
Yeah.
Uh, I can't pronounce her last name, but,
Wodarczyk.
Kucharczyk,
Wodarczyk.
okay. And, then the other thing I was thinking, if you really look far out, this building now, it wouldn't be too difficult to make this totally renewable. Because we need a lot of electricity, which we could get from solar panels. Then we could say, well, gee, we got a building that's totally renewable, maybe the only one in the state or the nation, I don't know. Be good bragging rights anyway, but, but it's something to think about probably. Because we do have everything set up pretty much in this building that it could go completely, we could cut off the gas. Theoretically at least.
I
know the umbilical cord is kind of nice.
Yeah, just
Well,
in
I mean,
case, just in
maybe we
case we
could-
get that
we
snowstorm
could
for the
have-
next.
We could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we could technically shut down the boiler and see how that went and see what kind of savings. If it's just keeping warm, see how our geofield does, because like over at the neighbors, that system, geosystem over there, your coldest winter days, you have to have those boilers on to supplement. Because otherwise, the geo will not keep up with that over there. Where
Okay.
this one here, I've never seen it where the boiler has had to
Fire, huh?
keep that temperature up. It just sits there and idles. It's in a keep warm stage, so.
So the gas is used for heat water and things then, or?
Yeah.
Pretty much, okay. Yeah, that's
So-
what I thought, yeah.
If you had failure though. Oh,
Well, yeah, I mean.
If you had
sure.
failure, how many gallons is in our boiler system? Just maybe you gotta figure on that. I mean, is it 300, 1,000?
So if you had a fail to your geo system and your loop would be put through the boiler
Okay,
and the boiler would be heating your loop.
okay,
So that would be the same as what you actually have. You would have to. With a system like that, you would have to shut off your geo field. So you're not sending. your
warm water out there.
Water out there. you have to shut that off. So then your circulation is lesser because you're not going out to your wells in the field.
Okay,
That's the same thing we have to do at the neighbors when we put a boiler on. So the neighbors is, you shut down your fields and then the loop that you have in the building is heated by the boilers. So it'd be
Okay.
the same situation here.
what is the time lag to bring, go from 50 degrees up to 120, 130?
It's not that long. They're quick recovery boilers.
Okay, so
They're-
they could potentially do it inside of an hour or
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
All right.
they're high efficiency, they're quick recovery boilers, so they will get you there.
I didn't know if it was a half a day to make steam.
No, it's not like the old boilers.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
And the thing with geothermal, the nice thing is you don't have to have that high temperature. You like baseboard on a boiler, you have to have 180-degree water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have that with geo. You can get you have a lower temperature
Okay,
to get your heat.
so my concern there is that, okay, if we did have a failure, somebody came in with a backhoe, ripped up our
Yeah.
system or whatever,
Sure.
how quickly could this other piece pick up in a cold day or whatever? Excuse me.
To slightly to slightly question a little bit as far as the natural gas, I don't know that I'm as quick to disconnect the gas from buildings. I'm not at all opposed to getting all of the renewable energy that we can and utilize that because I'm on board with that, but I'm a little less.
No, I
Quick.
was being a little facetious. I mean, I wouldn't cut the cord just yet. But when we, in Des Moines, we did live in a house that didn't have gas. Just had a, what do you call it? The heat exchanger and then to supplement that on a real cold day, they just, had electric coils in the furnace.
Oh, sure.
It was forced air. The only thing I didn't like about it, the air coming out of the vents was cool. It
Mhm.
felt cool at least. The house stayed warm, but it wasn't that hot air that comes out of vents from a,
Where you can snuggle up next to
Yeah.
that
Right,
van.
right, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But we lived there a winter, and Des Moines isn't all that cold or warm,
Mhm.
but it worked. And I think that the history there was that at one time there was a real shortage of natural gas, maybe back in the 60s or so, 70s. And they built these were side by side houses. And the whole rack was all electric. No gas in it at all.
Interesting.
So it works,
Mhm.
but
They are building projects right now in Eau Claire that don't have gas.
Yeah.
Very large projects and
Mhm.
they don't have gas in the building. So
yeah,
your desire to get to not having gas is not as far off as some may think.
no,
Yeah.
there's cities like I think San Francisco, or maybe some others out west at least, and there it's a little warmer. They already have ordinances that no new construction would have gas in it. So. So it's bad for the plumbers, I know.
Taking all of our work away from us. A follow-up on the energy is, have we done anything as far as geothermal in the judicial center, looked at any of the costs? I know we've talked about it over the last year or so. Is that something that we want to look at as far as getting some budgets for what something like that would cost? So when we start doing if we're gonna do some planning for how we're moving forward with becoming more renewable and more efficient, seems to me as much as we like solar, geo seems to be even more efficient and more beneficial.
So there's been a lot of conversation about judicial center putting in a geothermal system in there. When I started looking at updating the controls in there, That was one of the big things, was looking at if we went to geothermal, would the controls work with the geothermal system? And so we would get the controls that would work with geothermal system. I've had conversation with one company that installs, actually a company that installed a lot of the equipment in this building. And kind of laid out the way to go would be to start out with your controls. Then you're looking at with your, right now, they're high temperature coils in the air handlers. We would have to go with put in lower temperature controller or lower temperature coils, which would work with the high temperature right now. And then once we go to geo, the coils would be there for the low temperature. Then you would first look at replacing your boilers with some high efficiency, small compact boilers, which would provide your hot water for your heating now. And then once that's done, then you would have a place for all your heat pumps. Put them in a room in the basement, much like this building is. You could do that, and then you'd work on getting your well field and your plumbing all out to there, do all that stuff. And then you work on getting that turned over to your air handlers so that feed your building. And then with that, you're gonna get your cooling along with it. That would take care of your chiller. As I think there's in the capital improvement projects down the road is looking at replacing the chiller at Judicial Center, which the chiller takes a lot of electricity. So if you package that into your geo system and get the cooling along with your heating with your heat pumps, then you take out that chiller, you don't have that anymore. Takes away the chiller, takes away the cooling tower outside. That stuff goes away. And once the chiller's out of there, you have more room for your heat pumps and any equipment there, because that's right there next to it. So that's the plan. That's just kind of the stages, what they laid out of how we should do it.
Okay. Since we're decommissioning this well. Since we're decommissioning the well at the old pump house and it's an 8-inch casing. Is there any chance of using that access to, deep water? Would that, give us something in our, to be able to put a loop system down that thing and make use of an existing shaft already? I
don't know what something like that would entail.
I don't know if the distance is too great,
There's quite a distance.
Okay.
And I don't know if that distance would be too great. And then the other thing is that when it was looked into for that well, is that there's no record of that well with the state of Wisconsin. So I don't know how that would all go.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that if someone questioned about that, it would probably, first thing they say is the distance would be too great.
Okay.
But I don't know that for fact.
I just thought lots of times, for geothermal, there's the big layout this way. But I thought maybe this might be an opportunity for her horizontal
Right.
system.
And so the wells that are out here for this building
Mhm.
are vertical,
Mhm.
and the ones over at the neighbors are vertical.
Okay.
I forget the number of wells in each place, but it's gonna take more than just that one.
Oh,
8-inch
okay.
well. Yeah,
Probably got 30 wells.
30 wells
yeah.
to get that amount of
Is
heat.
that 30 out here?
I don't know. but
I don't
that's what I've
remember.
seen.
I-
It's
There's,
a
yeah.
lot.
it's a number of them. I don't know either what, but.
Yeah,
How deep are they just generally, do you know?
Some of them, like in Eau Claire, they were going 300 foot deep, 400 foot deep.
Really? Just
Through
for a
the-
geo system?
It went through the hard pans and everything.
Wow.
They drilled
Okay.
for months.
Yeah, it is quite a project.
Okay.
As far as cost, the only thing, or a year or so ago, I think I did ask you, and then I also asked Steve Rasmussen if he recalled about how much it cost here, and I think both of you came up with about $1 million, but it was kind of a guess. And then, of course,
Yeah.
now, it'd be more expensive because it's a bigger building,
Mhm.
and then there's inflation, so I'm guessing we're in that 1.5 million probably.
But
then if we,
Possibly.
if we got all the controls in, that would take away from the big expense.
yeah, and we haven't done the controls project yet.
Yeah.
So we've got money set aside for that. Chris Corporal and I have had conversation about, our future, where we're going with energy. And, we discussed about getting a plan like this, like I got from the one company that worked on this one. As far as getting a plan out there, how to go about that. So then we can also get costs there for budgetary planning. So I'll begin working on that. Her and I just talked about that a week or so ago. So I'll get working on that, get planning as a, lay out the step by step of how we should do that. And then start getting some costs on that so that we have ideas of costs, what it's gonna cost us to put a geosystem in the judicial center over there. And, we do a geothermal system in there. That's gonna boost up our electrical, but it's gonna take our gas back down. But then it's also gonna offset our electricity because of what the chiller is using. So there will be, what it comes out to be for a costing and a savings is it'll be interesting to see what it all does.
Be quite a payback then, I would assume, over time.
I think so.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Currently, there's gas that is used quite a bit at the judicial center. For the boilers, but then there's also gas for the jail kitchen. Stuff like that. The electric heaters over at judicial center are electric. They originally were gas and they were changed out and electric were put in. So, it'd be interesting to see what a geothermal does to that to offset, change over the gas and electrical costs. And then, once you get to that point, then you start looking at what a solar system does too, and to reduce that electrical.
And then you know what you need for electricity because your geo is running, you got a huge savings there. And now you bring back the solar, come back with the solar, and now you're almost completely renewable.
Yeah.
And the highway shop, though, is probably something we don't get too involved in at this time, I'm assuming.
I think the low fruit is over at the judicial center. That's the oldest building, well,
Yeah.
maybe but I mean, it's probably the most inefficient building we have.
Yeah, as far as the HVAC system, it is. That is everything I have for my report.
Any additional questions for Scott? All right, we will move on to our corporate council staff report. The honorary McLean.
The honorary. I really don't have a lot to report regarding the things I'm working on. I do have a draft of the ordinance that I think meets with all of the changes that we discussed in the May meeting. With regard to the transfer station, I've received a large file from the risk manager, Patty Isaacson, that I haven't gotten through yet. And I've talked with the IT director about searching for documents that we might have stored on our computer system, our network, and emails that might pertain to issues that we need to, that might contain information needed in order to evaluate the liability issues or potential issues. I had previously contacted a couple of law firms. The first law firm, I found it difficult to get contact with the attorney. The second one laid out an initial plan for me that I'm afraid is going to result in a very large legal bill, which I'm inclined to not want to incur. And so I've been doing some research myself. I had started some, and then Nicole, the Assistant Corporation Counsel, who was with us, and left her employment here in March. She had done some, and so I'm trying to piece it together to come up with something that will give you a good basis for deciding what you want to do with the property. But I don't have anything final yet. I really thought I would, but I gotta tell you, I'm swamped. That's all.
Any questions for corporate counsel? Thank you, sir.
Oh. Have an ordinance.
Thank you.
That next.
Is this gonna be a resolution to go to the county board,
It can be.
or is it just for discussion?
I think that's up to you. I think it's sufficiently noticed, but if you wanna, so there will be no regular county board meeting in August. And so it's sort of geared up for September. If you want to discuss it tonight and have it back again in August, for a meeting to set it up for September county board, that would be fine.
I guess that I would like to see that unless anyone disagrees. Give us some time to read through it and just, I don't think there's much we're gonna find that isn't exactly what we talked about, but we
No,
can make it an action item for next month and then move it on.
and I'll report, so the things that I worked on in this draft were, so there was, I removed Myron Park out of here since, I guess I'm anticipating, the likelihood that will be, conveyed back to the town of Sand Creek. There was a question regarding some retained usage rights for land donated for Thatcher Park. I probably went about it the wrong way, but I instead of going to the Register of Deeds office, I tried to look through all of the county board proceedings through the years. And it looks like from the late 1800s through the 1970s, there was someone named Thatcher on the county board. And so the hits that I got for word matching took a long time. I never did find any resolution accepting, but I wasn't able to look at all the proceedings. So I guess I'm just gonna have to ask the Register of Deeds to help me out and find out what it is. But I guess to cover it, because I'm also aware that I can't think of there are other parks where the land is donated to the county. And I don't know if there are any conditions attached with the donation. So what I did is I added in a section 8, which is on page 2. Donated land just says that use, of county parks that's located on land that's donated to the county. That's consistent with a donor's retained rights of usage shall not constitute a violation of these regulations. So I think the discussion, I grew up by Connorsville, and I can remember Thatcher Park being there when I was a kid. So it has to have been around for quite a while, but the discussion had to do with, that there was a possibility that the donors had reserved the right to have a family picnic and, camping event or something there, annually. So I put that language in to cover any of the county parks where a donor may have held back a right to use. The minimum forfeiture, was, you discussed it and wanted it put up to $100. I think I had it at 25. And then I changed some wording terminology. So we have the facilities director instead of manager. But those are really the changes. Otherwise, I think the previous draft was well received. And then I added a repealer in there so that anything that's previously adopted that's inconsistent is repealed. And there's a question?
Yeah, now, if we say that there's no camping in any of the parks, that means we don't need toilets or wells. Any facilities, then is that, I think we talked about that a little bit, didn't we? If we had camping, we had to have a toilet, we had to have a well. And
It's
so this.
that
would-
may very well be. I know there are primitive campsites
Mhm.
around the state where, where people pack it in and then pack it back out again. And I'm not well versed in any requirements for a campground. I think it depends on the kind of site, but
Yeah.
I would say the two aren't necessarily interconnected. They may be, but I don't know. I think we do have, do we have any pit toilets or do we put porta potties in?
We have a few parks that do have pit toilets in them.
Yeah,
Thatcher Park is one, 22-mile Ford, Northwest Landing, Lambs Creek, Champney Park, Pineview and Caddy, Woodlawn.
Mhm.
They have pit toilets in them currently. But if you're allowing camping, then you start getting into the campground regulations and that would
Yeah,
involve,
that gets more involved.
yeah, running water and a dumping station for the campers and all that stuff, the regulations that are in certain size camping plots. A lot more regulations go into it.
right. And this just to remind you all this ordinance would allow for that limited exception for camping for educational purposes for youth groups. They could apply to the facilities director and receive a permit to camp.
Where is that at, sir?
In section 3. So it's the last last two sentences.
Okay.
And I think that originates from, I think at 22-mile Ford Park, the scouts. I think once a year, have an event there where they camp overnight and
Jamboree.
yeah, I'm not sure what it is. And so I don't know if they have fires. So then section 4 also gives the facilities director authority to permit a fire. But absent that, they would be prohibited, camping prohibited, and with the exception of the rec park. And then fires. All right.
So I
let's-
was.
Yes,
I
go
was
ahead,
curious,
Supervisor Vogel.
I was just curious about fishing. So, I mean, does that give people an out and I'm there fishing? I don't know, but like shouldn't parks be closed? When they're closed or? Can you fish 24 hours a day, I suppose?
Yeah, it's legal to fish 24 hours a day.
Okay.
So I mean, I think the intent is to the greatest extent possible, we would allow people to put their boats in, to do the midnight walleye fishing or early morning trout fishing, if there's any. Maybe, I don't know. I go up to the Bowling Creek, so. Or the Hay River up by Connorsville. There
I'm
aren't
just a
any,
wannabe fisher. I don't actually get out there and do it.
I'll think about it.
I'm gonna do it.
Serious.
Any further questions for corporate counsel? Could we get this emailed out in the packet next time
Yes,
or
I will include
ahead
that.
of time or?
if anybody has suggestions or anything they'd like to see, any verbiage they'd like to see in here, just let me know. I'll make sure that Scott has a most current copy when he asks for it. And it can come out in the packet.
Thank you. All right, so that covers camping in the parks. Moving on to H, consideration, reports, resolutions, ordinance, and recommendations to the Dunn County Board by facilities. We have none at this time. So next meeting date is scheduled for August 23rd. I know a lot of we're not gonna have a meeting in August. I'm assuming we probably should still have a meeting here to cover this resolution for the county parks. So that meeting would be August 23rd. Any questions, disagreements?
That's at 6:30,
At 6.
at 6. I thought tonight's meeting started at 6:30.
Well, they were up until this year. We moved it from 6:30 to 6 this year.
About 1/4 after 6.
Yeah, I didn't have the Zoom link on there, so I had to quick create a Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
We were trying to trick you.
Mike's trying to get the meeting to 5.
Confuse the lawyer.
We're working on making it 5, but there's been some pushback, so we're still at 6. All right. Anything else, gentlemen and ladies? All right, this meeting is then adjourned.
All right.